folks.
Don't say nothing you don't want anybody to hear.
I've got an important announcement. Are we on both?
Yeah, we're
on. I have just been authorized by the mayor's office
Which mayor?
to offer you a battery at Napa for your lawnmower for $21.99. Now, I don't know anywhere else you will get a battery that cheap.
That must have been 562-2426, 2526.
That does not include the mail-in rebate from the mayor's office. That's just a straight $21.99 with an exchange with a core at Napa Auto Parts, which I'm not sure what Napa stands for, but they're located down there across from what is the name of that place?
Iga.
Iga.
That's right.
IGA store.
IGA, from across from IGA.
Now be sure and send them an invoice for the advertising.
Right there on the corner of Jacksboro Pike. He's also got motor oil on sale. That's good Napa motor oil. I tell you what's true, to my little truck, he gets thirsty, I give it a little swig of Napa motor oil, and we just keep right on getting. And now, I am going to have to make sure he's got a water pump in stock for that little truck. So I think after 300,000 miles, he's going to have a water pump.
You reckon? I've been thinking on some stuff.
I'm not real sure. It wasn't putting any heat out there for a while with the radiator, so I put some fluid in the radiator, and it didn't put any out.
A lot of people call that water.
So I think it's going to take one of them Napa water pumps to straighten that little truck out.
And if that don't do it, look for your thermostat.
Well, I just put a new thermostat in it,
okay.
so I was thinking it was the thermostat. I was hoping it was.
How many of you fellas are going to meet how many of you fellas are going to take me up to Cumberland College Tuesday?
How many?
I'm a-going, and
You
I got,
going?
3
I
people.
doubt ain't gonna go. See, Fred.
Three's gonna take my place.
You're not going?
I don't know.
I've invited 3 people, if that's all right.
Now I'm riding with you. I'm riding with you guys.
You just let me know where to pick you up. Miss Terrell, if you're listening today, be sure and reserve us a couple of tickets, because we may show up with a carload.
She's a Kentucky Terrell. They're Turls.
Yeah.
Turtles.
Yeah.
I look on Fred about like I do to have Plank done.
Frank.
Well,
He don't sound like it,
No,
though.
he don't sound like it does.
He's a politician who ain't running for anything, so we might get really something interesting out of him, since he ain't.
I ain't going except for the fact that it's free.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Fred is he might talk to them about movies he's been in. He might be able to give us an insight into
Well,
Bruce
you
Willis.
might use us for an extra.
Yeah, but he's the only politician, Republican, that apologized for not sticking up for Richard Nixon. After he saw how they stand up behind Obama and how they stood up behind Clinton, and Obama and Clinton have committed hundreds more crimes than Nixon ever dreamed of.
Well, I agree with that, and I still think Nixon ought to have been hung, but that, you
Yeah,
can
I
say,
agree
you can draw
with
your
that.
own conclusions about these other rascals.
Nixon was a rhino, and it was good to see him go, but Fred Thompson apologized for his complicity when they were questioning Butterfield. It was the Republicans who brought out the fact that they were taping everything that went on in the Oval Office, which of course the Washington Post and the Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, and the Los Angeles Times all jumped right in the middle of. And
Well, Nixon wasn't too smart, no, man. Why didn't he just delete them? I mean, it works now.
he should have done like
Hillary.
and instead of erasing 17 minutes, he should have
Erased them all.
parked the
Yeah.
whole bunch on a big strong magnet somewhere,
And
and that would have cleaned them.
And said, what tapes? I don't know
Yeah,
about
well,
technical
they're sitting
problem.
over here on this magnet.
Yeah, like we're on the magnetic table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll get rid of them.
Well, I forgot to tell you a minute ago, if you want to call 562-2529, you can still get the mayor's special on the battery at Napa, even though the mayor's number is 562-2526. If you'll dial 562-2529 or 562, what's that other number?
9 something.
8064,
No, I don't think so. It's got a 9 in it.
something like that.
Well,
Just
anyway,
come down
it's in
to
the phone
Napa-
book.
Just go down to Napa and get your battery.
Yeah, and if you ain't got a cord, just go around, I'm sure you can steal one from somewhere pretty easy.
I know fellas got some trucks that sit around nobody in
Come
them.
across the railroad track and you get your core battery.
Yeah, just steal you one.
speaking of mayors, we got a mayor here in the city of La Follette.
You mean the garbage collector?
He's a promoted street sweeper. He
No
is
garbage.
he is running a small engine repair service or a lawnmower repair service out of his house in a residence zoned R1. And I'm told, and it's been a while since I've driven up by there, but they say that there's lawnmowers everywhere in his yard, in all states of disrepair.
Maybe they're planners.
And his son is also running a small engine repair out of his front yard, and he
Across the
lives
street.
across the street, and he's zoned R1. So upon questioning, Mr. Faust, the codes enforcer, said that mayor and his son went before the planning board and got permission to have these businesses in their yard. Well, I'm sorry, the planning board, their authority does not cover zoning or zoning regulation.
Well,
So if they got approval from the planning board to overrule the zoning board, if I was on that zoning board, I'd go down there and whoop some tail.
you just trying to make sense. Let me show you the solution to this. I got a very simple solution.
Okay?
Everybody do the same or whatever they please.
Well, I have
Yeah,
I have a
don't worry
statement
about
to make. The laws and the zoning regulations only apply to mere mortals. They do not apply to politicians. And I can give you several examples to prove this point.
Well,
Well, look at Scott Kitz's residence.
if
You know, it's in a state of he's like Bob here. He's an independent businessman who
Without a license.
brings in a lot of material around his house that he sells over eBay. So he buys and sells and makes his living marketing on eBay.
I'm all for it.
And there's stuff stacked all around his house.
I got nothing wrong with that.
And
I
that-
just say let everybody else do the same.
Exactly. Don't go down here and pick on Bob and Ron and let county commissioners, mayors, and mayors' sons get away with it.
Well, now, the real answer to this
Well,
is
if you,
if you build a fence around his building, around his operation.
Fences don't work. I had a fence one time and the city tore it down.
Heard me that, you build a fence around your operation, and then you hire David Young as the city manager,
Yeah.
and he will get his stepladder and go down there and take pictures of it. There has to be a fence around it. And he'll go down there and take pictures of what's going on, and then he will bring zoning violation charges against them.
yeah, and if you want to be safe, build a ramp and a stand and where you don't have to bring your ladder.
Well, that's right. That's
Is there anything to the rumor that you provided a ladder once upon a time, Bob?
Well, what I did, David brought his own ladder when he come down there taking pictures, but I put a picture up, a ladder up there and a sign that says, the David G. Young Scenic Overlook. and I put, be careful, don't climb this unless you
Climb at your
are
own
able
risk.
to take a 15-foot fall. So, yeah, you know, we,
I also think the mayor should resign over the fact we have been without the city charter, and I got all 30 pages of it here in front of me,
They don't go with that.
requires that we have a city administrator. In almost 2 years now, between a year and a half and 2 years, we've been without a city administrator. And our mayor and 4 members of the city council are not fulfilling the charter nor obeying the oath they took
But did they
when they
not-
took office by not hiring somebody as city administrator.
Didn't they appoint somebody as acting administrator?
If they have officially, they have not publicly announced it
Well,
that I know of.
I thought,
They may
I
have.
thought Jeffries was the acting, city manager.
Yeah, but it says they must have a city administrator, and they've had almost 2 years to hire one. They've gone through the process, narrowed it down to 2 people, decided they didn't like either one of these,
Well,
and they want to reopen them.
I mean, that's fine with me, cause I think that's a hire at will. If they don't wanna hire them, I don't think they have to.
Don't you think the solution to it is to send the charter back and do away with that position?
I think the solution is to send the charter back and abandon the whole
Right.
damn thing.
I think the solution is that all 4 members of the city council and the mayor should resign.
Well,
You heard
If you
Bob Fannon's response when I asked for his resignation on the R.O. Gibson show, didn't he?
I don't know, what was it?
What Bob done?
Oh, that Hazel Valley guy, he has his own opinion. So the rest of the world suffers from opinionitis, and they get away with violating all the rules and
Right.
regulations, and the oaths they've taken.
Well, really the solution to the thing is to send that charter back, put it on the referendum, and vote it, get rid of the thing.
Oh, I got another reason for the mayor to resign. Right here on the WLF 1450 website, there's a picture of the mayor and city councilwoman Ann Thompson holding an illegal meeting down on the walking path down to the water sewage plant. It was a meeting that was not advertised.
I'm amazed they didn't find somebody, some of them tourists carrying couches through there.
And I'm down there holding a meeting, and the mayor, who says he has no power or authority to stop the city street department from going down and stealing everything Bob Andrews owns, that he's down there with
The
PM
opinions
Thompson
voiced here below.
saying, I am going to order the street department to come down here and see what they can do about the erosion on this bank. Because it's about to wash away their, the famous walking trail down to the
Well,
sewage
now, I thought
plant.
they went down there to make sure that walking trail works, because nobody else has walked on it, they don't know whether it's worked or
Oh,
not.
Bob, where have you been? People are going down there and having picnics down there at the sewage plant.
And them
That's
fake,
exactly where you
They
want
love
it.
to go down and breathe the fresh
Well,
air.
now, I sell clothespins.
them fake bricks they got down there crossing the roads are bubbling up too.
Anyway, isn't there some property issue that should be brought up? What was that, about rebuilding a building somewhere?
Down right up here at the, Vapor place.
Do you know anything about that, Ronnie?
You talking about down there where they tore down the weldings, tore down the wall down there and couldn't build it back?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm a-thinking? Mr. Weldon is a county commissioner, and I don't remember, I may be wrong, but I don't remember him standing up and saying anything about opting out of the county building codes, which we had that option. I don't remember him saying anything about rescinding the County Powers Act. I'd say he got bit by the same dog he's wanting to bite the rest of us.
I think he got bit by his own dog.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, that's just the way I see it. I'm a little stupid. I'm just a poor country boy, don't know
I
much.
haven't heard any word where he said anything about the County Powers Act or building code.
Ain't either. And the fact that he got bit by that same dog that he wants the rest of us to wrestle with is just
Right?
what goes around comes around. Maybe he'll change his mind and stand up for the poor people and the little people and the people that are struggling and trying to do the best they can. Maybe he'll and go out there and do something besides, just get a salary and go to the house.
Speaking
Never
of
tell.
salaries and going to the house, I did a little background investigation, and do you know the population of Campbell County is declining every year?
People keep dying. You can't do
Well,
much
it's
about it.
Close to 1% a year. And over a decade, that's a lot of
In
people.
100 years, we'll be vacant.
100 years, it won't be anybody here. In 40 years,
Yeah, but
we're
they-
losing 1%.
But
Well,
see, you
yeah,
gotta
100.
look on the bright side. If it declines 1% this year, then next year there's less people and there's less people to decline in 1%.
And
Is that our phone or somebody else's?
it's somebody else's.
Okay.
Ours is blinking there, oh, that may not be ours.
Our phone, our phone,
Yeah, there it is.
our home
Push,
values.
Let's see what we got here. Hey, what about money?
Hello?
Hey,
Stage fright.
so you didn't want to talk a while about money. How about you want to talk to Oil or Gary?
The home values have dropped something like 25-30% over the last decade, from an average of $125,000 a home down to about $91,000.
try it again. Bob, they may be calling you back.
He can hear you.
What about money?
I'm not looking for Wild Bob, and I am looking for Bill Waddell.
Bill Waddell, I don't even know him. I think he was
5'6"
WLAF.
562.
Call 562
call
instead of
562
5656.
1450.
Too many people talk at one time. What's the number?
562 1450. Got it?
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, now tell us what we're doing
But
here.
our home values are going down.
Well, there's no way it could be.
My taxes went up.
Our home sales have gone down
I know
from,
that.
from about 2,000 sales a year down to about 300 sales a year. We're in serious economic decline in Campbell County, and all those county commissioners can think about, and our finance officer and these people, is raise taxes, raise taxes. Our utility board is raising utility prices and water prices and it's like we're in a serious economic decline here in Campbell County, and all these governmental organizations can think of is raise, raise, raise.
Well, people don't realize, but history will prove that any time you start taking a greater share of a smaller pie, that's going to end in disaster. You can't take a greater slice of the pie if the pie has got smaller to make up the difference. You can't do that.
That's poor economics, but boy, that's the way they think.
As the base, like what you're talking about, like losing individuals or citizens or families, as you have less people on a utility or less people that are using water, they raise the price to maintain their standard of
Their
Some
standard
people-
of living.
some people would say standard of living, but if you've got a water line out through here and you got 1,000 people on it, and you're charging a certain rate, if you lose 100 of those people, you're going to have to raise the rate to take up for the ones that are not using.
If you're
And
not
it'll
willing
continue.
if you're not willing to cut your own overhead, you're right.
Well, it's going to continue to do so. Every time, let's say like on utilities, like on electric or water, either one right now, when the bottom 10% can no longer pay the bill, then that ups the price on the bottom 10% that's left, and you get a snowball effect. And first thing you know, you're going to be down to even the people who are
Affluent.
pretty comfortable are going to be paying one heck of a bill.
They
And
become uncomfortable, don't
they're
they?
gonna become uncomfortable.
You
And
know,
I would say,
that's how ghost towns are created.
well, what I'd
Exactly
say,
what you're pointing out.
when you get to that point where the people who live comfortable are becoming uncomfortable, then they're gonna start demanding that government subsidize them or pay something for them. But as you,
And then the government's gonna have to start taking more and more from the people who have anything left.
if you look at government, how inefficient it is, and it'll be from starting it from the White House down to where we're at right here, government is totally inefficient. It has no competition, and it doesn't have to compete. We have here in the state, and I believe I read this week, they have discovered $77 million that the state of Tennessee is paying out that they shouldn't be paying out to people who are receiving money that shouldn't be receiving money. But the 77 million is what they know of, but they said that they estimate that it's 151 million if you put in the ones that they don't know about. Now, if you take this to the federal level, the federal government right now is paying out, I believe it's 125 billion. Now, whenever you get up to putting these letters like B's after it and T's, I can't even hardly comprehend how many zeros we're looking at that's being paid out. Now, when it's being paid out, this is being paid in by working people. And it wouldn't surprise me one bit if a large percentage of what's being paid out is being paid out, if not directly to the politicians, people who are associated with them. Now, I heard the president back about 2 weeks ago was going to reboot Solyndra. Now, everybody knows that
Has he got a brother-in-law in that business or
Nancy
something?
Pelosi's brother-in-law.
Is that the brother-in-law? I know there's a brother-in-law in there
That's the
summers.
main
How
guy.
many million did they lose the first time? Was it 12?
No, it's 500 million.
500, almost a half
Yeah.
$1 billion they lost. And
Now-
now
Now, 500 ain't almost.
They're
We're gonna give them
They
another
didn't, lose,
500.
they didn't lose it, they used it.
Right, but they're going to kick 400, almost 500, about 480 or 70 some billion again
Million.
back into it. No, billion.
Billion.
No, I'm wrong. Million. You're right. Million. But anyhow, right now we're borrowing this money. The government can't even take in enough money just to survive.
Well, but the thing about it is, they are not borrowing it, because they gonna take and spend it and use it, and they ain't gonna pay none of it back.
Everything's run on monopoly money right now.
Anybody with any common sense will know that you cannot continue the way we're going.
No.
And this is just part of the stuff. This stuff is going on continuous, and money being spent everywhere. I think Oak Ridge is right now applying for $25 million to build a water treatment plant to try to get the mercury out of the runoff water that's going into I think it's Poplar Creek.
Proper Creek, which
Yeah.
flows into the Clinch River.
Well, it's been going in there, of course, ever since this thing started, I'd say. But anyhow, there's no end to it. We're pumping money everywhere, and money we don't have.
I
of
wish they'd
course.
pump a little into my family.
Well,
Well, if they would engage in some useful practices that are within the confines of what the government should do, like they could easily okay the Keystone Pipeline, okay, without any additional cost and government funding. Government doesn't have to fund it, just okay it. Second, you know, we have a water shortage in California, but throughout the world, we don't have a water shortage. It's just a shortage of location as to where the water is. So we could very easily authorize the construction of a pipeline from the Great Lakes to California.
Whoa! What if you had a spill?
Well, that'd be trouble if you had a spill, because then it would create more wetlands, and the government would come in and take your land over the wetlands has been created.
Yeah, but them ducks would have somewhere to light.
Right, yeah. You know, it's much easier if Warren Buffett had a railroad going over there where he could ship that water over in tanks.
I hadn't thought of that.
There you go. You know, whenever they've got these oil tankers, these trains that's shipping oil, whether they're shipping it from the north to the south or whatever, what do they ship back the other direction on these oil tanks?
Well, it ain't water.
Well, they're deadheading. They go one way and they deadhead back the other way.
Same thing about the coal
Waste of
tar.
time.
Well, wait a minute. We can't have no common sense brought into
You
this.
gotta understand, if they pump it down there in a pipeline,
Yeah.
what they gonna be bringing back?
A good point. And a pipeline,
You ain't gonna be bringing anything back, Bob.
the
Pipelines are one-way trip,
if you figure, like on these, we're having
but a train has to be brought back.
a train wreck pretty regular with these tanker cars. If you figure up the amount of oil that's being spilled from these tanker
Oh,
cars,
the towns has been.
Yeah, they burnt down towns and everything.
you take these pipelines, these things are monitored constantly. And they don't blow out, they might get a leak after a while, but they also inspect these things constantly. The one in Alaska, they run a thing through there called a pig that keeps it cleaned out and all sorts of other things. But I don't know, have you heard of any major spill in Alaska with that pipeline? It's been in there since what, back in
Now,
the 60s?
in fact, the caribou population has
Early
increased.
70s, yeah,
I believe it was in the 60s.
early 70s.
Well, they was working on it in the 60s. I know somebody was
Yeah.
thinking about going up there and getting a job back then.
Well, I applied for a teaching job up there, and when they told me I had to bring big game hunting weapons and fishing, all kinds of fishing gear to supplement my diet because it was too expensive to fly food in there.
Do you know where the endangered manatees in Florida go and when it gets real cold?
I ain't no telling.
They go to the spillways of the coal-fired electrical generators,
That's where the big fish go too, isn't it?
so they can stay warm and not freeze to death. So we're going to outlaw coal-fired generators, and the manatees just going to have to buy some overcoats, I guess.
Sounds logical to me.
When you talk, I heard something, I got this, and I'm gonna have to do some research, I ain't had time to look it up. But I hear that we've solved the problem with these immigrants getting hurt on these trains.
Yeah, we're going to fly them in.
Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah,
we're
and they can
flying
send for mommy and daddy after they get here and get established.
them. Yeah, they're getting too many of them hurt, and not enough of them getting here. So now we're gonna start flying them
Well, I
in.
hope they don't start flying them on German wings.
Have you heard about this thing in the Southwest called Jade Helm? Jade being blue and helm being the German word for help. Basically, it's called Jade Helm 2. And I didn't know there was a Jade Helm 1, but they've called this Jade Helm 2. And essentially, it's a military exercise covering about 5 or 6 southwestern states.
Texas is one of them, isn't it?
Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, Nevada, I think Utah. And basically it's an exercise in militia law.
Right. I heard about that.
And of course, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories on Alex Jones and Patrick, what is his name? Patrick
Reagan.
He's a
Patrick Reagan?
He's a minister, and all these conspiracy websites are talking about this. And my cousin called the alarm bell, and I said, "Don't worry about it. It's a military exercise to make sure ants land does not succeed from the southwestern United States. It's to let these Hispanics know there will be no succession. There will be no ants land." And he said, "Well, I've never heard that before." I said, "Well, hey, look, my conspiracy theory is as good as Alex Jones's, you know." So don't worry about it.
Well, if they're flying them, which it doesn't surprise me if this is going on.
Well, this is a Democrat Party effort to essentially make the entire nation a Democrat nation forever,
Well, look,
in every election.
I've said before that the Democrats depend on poor people to be elected. Obama has tried the best he could to make as many poor people as he can, but he has figured out that he can't make people poor enough, fast enough, so he has to bring them in.
Ship it in something, yeah.
Right.
Imported poor people.
Yeah.
Yeah, have the import. Yeah, I don't know how many college professors you'll find riding those trains up here, or how many skilled laborers, that you find. In fact, I've got nothing against immigrants. About 3 generations ago, my people
Now, wait a minute, you said immigrants.
Yeah.
You didn't say illegal.
No, I've got nothing against
Okay.
immigrants. I
Right.
do have something against illegal people in this country, because my people came here legally, okay? And,
Some of mine met the boat, Bob.
well,
Some of mine met the boat.
Yeah, I bet they wish they'd turned them around too.
They tried.
but some of mine did too, but they just kept shooting at it till they got it. And, but I have nothing against legal immigration, orderly immigration, and immigration that benefits not only the immigrant, but also the country that they're going to. And the reason I said I have nothing against immigrants or these people that's come into the country, personally I don't. However, I talked with some people from Mexico who have legally immigrated up here.
Well, there's
They're,
no
they're
doubt.
they're not quite as heavy as those that come in. Well, no, I don't want to put it. They're lighter than those that come in. Okay, and they say that the ones that come up here and come across the border illegal are nothing but the riffraff that's coming out of Mexico. I don't know.
You remember when Castro declared some sort of a
The May release of prisoners.
right? They released oodles of people,
Mental hospital.
mental
Yeah.
hospital,
The prison.
He was
whatever.
supposed to release political.
Send them all to America.
He turned all criminals and I'd say crazy people and everything else loose.
And all these people became such productive citizens. It was absolutely horrifying.
That's the reason we have 51% of the people on food stamps.
Well, they actually, the majority of those people that came over in that Cuban thing, went immediately into the drug business, and they created a cartel practically all over the United States by sending their people everywhere and selling drugs. They created a great
Sure.
drug chain, and
Fellas got to make a living.
yeah, that's like I say, they immediately became productive people.
Well, fellas, all this bad news, at least we got some good news now. The president has made a deal with Iran, and Iran's going to play pretty now. And
Yeah.
we got nothing to worry about. Israel is going to be.
We got a couple of bridges here in Campbell County. We like to sell old Obama too. Man.
We got nothing to worry about. I read.
We
I read-
just bought Brooklyn Bridge, didn't it?
Yeah.
There's an article in the paper today, and it's from the Associated Press. And from what I can read out of it, everything they say about the last sentence of each paragraph denies everything that's said. That there's nothing being confirmed, or nothing can be insured, or whatever.
Nothing in writing.
Nothing in writing. This is a great deal. It sure is.
It's a farce.
That's a Nancy
It's a
Pelosi
farce.
type deal.
Yeah.
And John Kerry, at our expense, has got to spend months living high on the hog in Switzerland, one of the safest countries in the world.
Well, according to this article, Iran is up to like 20,000 centrifuges now.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're going
Now,
to
if all they wanted was nuclear energy, they could have bought the thing and brought it in and set it up.
Yeah.
I hope the Senate will come to the conclusion that this is a bad deal and vote to condemn it,
Okay,
that will give Israel impetus to go over there and bomb
well, what
Iran.
do you think the president's gonna do if he gets a bill that comes to his desk that does not approve it? What do you think he's gonna do?
I wouldn't do that. I'd do it by,
It don't go to his desk if it don't pass Senate.
right.
If it fails in the Senate,
Okay.
it stays there. There's no reason for it to go to his
Then
desk.
what's to stop him?
It's when they pass a bill, then he will have the right to veto it. Like,
What?
if they pass a bill defunding
You're talking about
Obamacare, he can veto that.
You're talking about the way it's supposed to be done. But what if he declares an executive order to put
Oh,
this thing in?
he's already said he's gonna take this to the United Nations for
Right.
approval.
Well, that's great.
Instead of the US Senate.
Right, yeah.
And,
United Nations, that's
I mean,
where
the
Russia,
man, well, hey, look, if Mike Stanfield can violate the city charter
We just
and
go
his
plenty
oath
more.
of office, and then why can't Obama?
does anything mean anything anymore? It's just like
No,
the
it don't. No,
Constitution.
it don't.
Does
There
anything-
is a concerted attempt on the part of these liberal progressive socialists to change the identity of America as a nation. Instead of a strong capitalist free enterprise nation embedded in liberty and Christian values, they are changing this progressively. In fact, an example right here at home, I didn't think the mail run yesterday. It was Good Friday. And, everybody has that off except our socialist school system who made children go to school. I don't know if they did in our county,
They
but I
didn't.
know they did in
They
Union
did.
County.
We were on spring break, I believe.
And,
UPS works yesterday.
well, United States Postal Service worked yesterday. And
They
they
worked
work
today.
today. I thought they would have a couple days off. Well, my neighbor across the street was curious about this. She was sure they'd be off. If they weren't off yesterday, they'd be off today and have a nice weekend.
I bet they'll be off tomorrow.
She called.
I'd say you're right.
She called the post office.
Go that Speedwell, right?
The other one at Speedwell, and she asked them, and the lady told her, "We do not recognize Christian holidays in the U.S. Postal Service."
Well, no, let me give
Wait
you
just
my
a
take
minute.
on
Wait
this.
just a
She
minute.
said, "We do not recognize," and she said, "Will you take it tomorrow off?" Just like you did. And she said, she said, "We always take Sunday off."
What about Christmas?
And,
what I was
and
worried-
Sunday is a Christian day of rest. So
But-
if they're taking every Sunday off, they're taking off a Christian holiday.
Well,
And,
let
and they also,
me give
she,
you my
she
take
asked,
on that.
well, wait a minute, she asked the postal lady, said, "Does that mean I can't ship Christmas presents anymore through the U.S. Postal Service?" And she said, "Well, yes, you can." And she said, "Why would that not?" She said, "Well, I always stick Christian stickers all over my packages when I ship them." But anyway, Bob, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Bob.
What I was gonna say, there is a rationale for the government not honoring religious holidays, because the government is not a religious organization, even though our country was founded
On Christian
on Christian values and Judeo-Christian principles. The government per se is not a religious operation, and by not honoring religious holidays, then they don't have to honor Yom Kippur. They don't have to. You don't have to honor your Muslim holidays.
What is it? Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa.
Kwanzaa?
They don't have
That's
to.
a made-up holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to.
Started by an inmate in California
Quentin.
State Penitentiary.
San Quentin would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about Apple? They won't do business with Indiana, but they'll do business with the Muslim countries.
Oh, that's the hypocrisy among these Liberal, did you get the email I sent out about the IQ of different political
Yeah.
persuasions? And the left liberals are the lowest of all. They have about an average IQ of about 85. So you don't have to have a high IQ to become CEO of Apple, obviously.
Well, this pizza thing, where the gay couple was wanting the pizza place to cater.
That's
the
not what
wedding.
happened.
What happened?
That pizza, I mean, that went on in other places, but the pizza thing was where this investigative journalist up in she
okay.
just went in and asked her. She kept shopping around and finally found this poor woman and said, would you cater a gay wedding with your pizza? And ain't nobody ever asked her to. And she said, well, I wouldn't want to. And that was just the awfully stink ever was.
Did you see where that journalist acted like a gay man? And he went in
Yeah.
something like 12 Muslim bakeries
Yeah.
on their board? And they wouldn't, any of them would have anything to do with it.
I don't know why we ain't boycotting.
Question.
But did
I don't
you
know why
see
we ain't
where
boycotting
did
Michigan.
you see where that pizza parlor had received $374,000 in donations?
I didn't know what he was up to, but I hope they get enough to retire.
It's up to about 600,000 now. But here's the thing.
Oh,
Really?
They're
Yeah.
going to become most millionaires.
Now, but here's the thing: the government's going to get about 30 or 40% of it.
Oh, Lord.
They'll have to get it as they'll call
Not
it.
if they immediately invest it.
See, do you see how biased they are?
Wouldn't that be considered a gift?
You can go
Not if
in,
they invest it as a business
you
expense in
can
the
go
same
into
year.
any Jewish delicatessen, make a difference what religious persuasion you are, and buy bagels.
Well, tell me
but
something.
you can't go in there and buy a ham sandwich.
If the government doesn't recognize Christian
You can go to
holidays,
Einstein's Coffee and get bacon for
Bagels.
breakfast. You can get bacon bagels. I mean, bacon bagels.
if the government and U.S. Postal Service, which is a pseudo-government agency, if they don't recognize Christian holidays, why are they taking political holidays off?
Because they are political.
MLK Day, President's Day.
Because they
Yeah,
can.
I don't think Martin Luther King was a bad person or had a bad influence on his country.
I don't know, the
However,
FBI file
I
on
don't-
him
I
was
don't
pretty
believe-
deep
I
and
don't-
thick.
I don't believe that anybody other than presidents, former presidents of this country, should ever have been honored with a day of their own. Because that sets a bad precedent.
And I think we ought to have a Davy Crockett Day myself.
No, then they gonna come in and want, what's his name, Che Guevara to have a.
Well, what we need to do is take off every day and let them people that's been a living off of us all this while get out there and work for a living.
We should have a Waco Day and celebrate the FBI's murder of 26 babies at Waco.
Or, what is it, Wounded Knee?
Wounded Knee. that could
And
be
what
all
about
day.
Janet Reno, we need a day to celebrate Janet Reno.
Ruby Ridge? We got to get Ruby Ridge
Have a
too.
Ruby Ridge holiday.
We're going to have to talk about some sponsors here sooner or later, fellas. I'm a thinking about.
I tell you what, too, the best American example of anything I know of, you'll find right down in Sawmill Holler.
Middle of the road?
You're right, you go right down in Sawmill Holler where Ellison Road comes in Lake Support. The man that built a highly volatile propane business who only had one propane tank, okay, there in the middle, which
Got two now.
he needed two, okay, and he was told he could not, that city code, you could not have two propane tanks. And it was kindly pointed out to the city elders that they had two up here at
An opposing business.
up here at the
A much larger
Prince Powell.
group. Yeah.
Prince Powell up there had two on their property. So as you know, Digger now has two propane storage tanks. That's an American way to set up what you want to, where you want to, and operate it for your own benefit. And if you operate it for your benefit, it's going to benefit the people that trade with you. You can go down there and get a full tank of gas, one that's been purged of all the oxygen and moisture and everything in it. And when you get a 20 pounder, you've got 20 pounds
How
of
many
fuel.
flavors of
5,
propane
6,
does he have?
5, 4, 4, 4. And I don't know, they've already surpassed Baskin Robbins 42 flavors, so I don't know how many he's got now.
5, 6, 2,
How
5,
many
4,
flavors
4, 4.
Baskin Robbins has
42.
got? Do you remember how many flavors Howard Johnson's used to have?
I remember how many ways you could get a sandwich at,
Blue Circle.
no, take
Blue
the
Circle
crew,
had 32 different kinds of sandwiches.
take the crew and drop into the nearest Blue Circle. But I'm thinking about you could get 457 different combinations at Wendy's on
Oh.
your hamburger, and you can get about that much different propane down at Diggers at 5, 6, 2, 5, 4, 4, 4.
About mixing your
Do
flavors.
you remember when they had Howard Johnson's to paint all their trash cans and dumpsters?
Uh-oh,
I mean, they had people paint all their
uh-oh.
trash cans and dumpsters the same color as Howard Johnson.
I know why.
Yeah, that's so the hippies would think they were eating it.
Oh, that ain't the ones I heard was eating there, but I guess we can do hippies and get by with it.
Hippies in the 60s, could think they were eating at Howard Johnson.
How many flavors of ice cream did Howard Johnson's have? Or Hojo?
67.
I don't
How
know.
many?
67.
No, 28.
Huh?
28.
Diggers got 'em beat. 5, 6, 2, 5, 4, 4, 4.
Right, 5, 6, 2, 5, 4.
What's the new number? No, we can't say the new number for 911. That's still 911. What's the, where you call if you need a ride to the hospital?
Well, if you get food poisoning off of some old rotten tomato juice, you don't need to call 911. Just call 562-9370, and they will dispatch a very modern, up-to-date ambulance.
With it,
mobile
even
medical facility.
got a ventilator in there.
Yeah, they even got
In
a
case you need
ventilator.
ventilated.
You need a mobile ventilator, and that is
To ventilate mobiles.
Vital Care, a medical transport company. Another example of capitalism here in this country. You set up his own business, his own
And having to compete against his own tax dollars.
Well, it's kind
And
of hard to.
he's still a
It's
success.
kind of hard to, because when he needs a headlight put in, he has to go down and pay for it. The ambulance service for the county needs a headlight put in, and rather than going down and getting one put in for nothing, as far as their cost is concerned, they keep driving around with one headlight.
Oh, you can't give a ticket to ambulance.
You know, speaking of good ambulance service, reminds me of a comment that Jonas Salk made. You remember who Jonas Salk was?
Yeah, that's
Conquered polio.
You talking about
Conquered polio.
Oh.
Jonas Salk.
I thought he got swallowed by a whale and had a salt.
That's Jonas without the salt.
He made the comment that if we eradicated all the insects in the world, the human race wouldn't last another 50 years. We'd all be dead. But yet, if we got rid of the human race, life on this planet would flourish.
Well, that's what the environmentalists are trying to do.
Yeah,
Get rid of the human race.
that's their philosophy. So, I don't know what the answer is, really. There's so many complex problems. Over in Africa, they have some of the richest and the most productive land in the world. But yet, we have gone over there and put so much of it out of limits to the people that live in that country. And
Well, some of their political systems are destroying the farmlands to the extent
Some of our political systems are destroying them for
they're
it.
suffering from famine. And we had a judge one time that admitted he was wrong, but he had to do it anyway. Outlawed DDT. And millions of people have died from the
they
fact
figured the first 10
we
years
got rid
there
of
was
DDT.
18 million people died that would not have died.
That's right.
Using DTA, if they'd used DDT.
That's right. Yeah. And they're still dying
Yeah, they are.
because of Rachel Carson and a liberal left-wing judge.
Right, exactly right. You know, but, yeah, we've got a lot of good examples of, American ingenuity and American business going on right here. But to have to fight City Hall, have to fight, Campbell County government every day, and like I say, Lonnie Weldon, who is on the, county commission, was denied the right to put a wall back that he tore down. So he has just been bit by the dog that he's been leading around.
But if you're a city council person or a city mayor, you can violate every zoning ordinance and every regulation we got.
But if you do need a battery for your lawnmower,
Lawnmower.
yeah.
Back to lawnmowers, are we?
Go down to Napa, he's got them for $21.99, but that's a new battery. It's a Napa battery, and it's not a rebuilt battery, it's a new battery. So we're just going down and get it, and you can save $7 on any, other lawn and garden batteries, you know. So if you need one for, a 12-liter diesel engine, just go in there and tell him that it's for a lawnmower, and he'll give you another $7.